Alright, what's up boys? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to think about to design the best split for you to build a superhero physique. But before getting into the video, I want to make sure that you are being consistent in the gym and that you're putting in the effort. Because if you're not doing these things, then the information that I'm going to give you isn't going to matter. Focus on getting consistent and putting in effort. And if you apply what I'm going to teach you today, the results are going to be insane. Now let's get into the video. Alright, here's the full guide for the best splits to build a superhero physique naturally. This is only for the naturals because those who are on steroids, they can do whatever they want and they're still going to grow muscle because they're on steroids. But us as naturals, we have to optimize our training to actually build muscle. So, the superhero physique is the perfect balance between size and aesthetic. So, having those big arms, delts, but still having that tight waist with some nice abs. So, this is the perfect example. So, Thor, big shoulders, big arms, nice chest, nice abs. Same thing for Omni Man, Batman. It's obviously exaggerated in the comic books and the movies, but that's just what we want to look like. What we don't want to look like though is these guys right here. Yes, they're putting in the work. Yes, they're going into the gym, but in my opinion, it just doesn't look good. So this guy, yes, he might be aesthetic. Yes, he might be shredded, but as soon as he puts on a t-shirt or something covers up his body, he looks like he doesn't lift. Do you want to put all that effort and not look like you lift? Right? No. Then this guy just freak of nature. Like in my opinion, it just doesn't look good. It looks like a thumb. You know, no, this doesn't look good. If you want to look like any of these three, don't continue watching the video because I'm not going to teach you this. And then this guy just goes without saying, chunky, bulky. It just doesn't look aesthetic, right? But this is what we want to look like. So here are just some proof and transformations in the superhero method. So, this is my client. His chest, grew, his shoulders, his abs. We can clearly see it here. Look at how the shoulders are much more defined now. The chest is bigger. The abs are popping out more. So this shit works. And this transformation just goes without saying. The abs are popping out more. The shoulders, the bicep vein. This is Nate Killer, by the way. Like, if you apply what I teach you, you are going to get insane results. So let me talk to you about basically the principles of training and how you have to design your split according to these principles. So the very first principle is that volume over frequency is garbage. Okay, let's take an example where you're training a muscle once a week. Let's say chest, right? You have a dedicated chest day. So for bench press, you'll do 200 times 5 on your first set, 190 times 5 on your second set, and let's say 180 times 5 on your third and fourth set. Now, you are decreasing the weight each time because your muscles are fatiguing. And so each time that your muscles are fatiguing, that means you can't generate as much force, you can't generate as much tension. And so each set becomes less and less stimulating. So you can't just say, oh, but I'm going to make all my volume in, once a week because the stimulus isn't going to be good. Because as I said, each set is going to be less and less stimulating. And another thing to consider is that your muscles are always in two states, right? They're either in an anabolic state where they're building muscle or in a catabolic state where they're breaking down muscle. Now, once you're going to train, for example, here on your day one, you are going to generate an anabolic state because you generated stimulus. So, for the next 48 hours, your body or your muscles are going to be in anabolic state. So, they're going to try to build muscle. But after 48 hours, oh, you start going down. The stimulus is gone and you start going into a catabolic state. But looky here, since you're only training once a week, you don't have another peak to get into that anabolic state. So you're in that catabolic state all week until next Monday. So all this is time that you're losing in a catabolic state. Now, here's why frequency over volume is actually the king of all principles. So not only are you, progressing more throughout the week because, on your day one, you'll do 200 times 5. Your day two, if we're generous, 200 times 5, you stay the same. And then on your day three, 200 times 6. So in the same week, you progressed while this guy didn't do shit. and you're getting more stimulus and more frequent stimulus, right? More time in that anabolic zone because you'll hit your muscle. Oh, catabolic state. Oh, but it's Wednesday, so you hit again the muscle. Oh, Thursday, you're in anabolic state. Oh, you hit again the muscles. So every time, you like every 48 hours, you're having that stimulus to get you out of that catabolic zone to build muscle. So this brings us to the 48 to 72 hour rule where you're training every muscle every 48 to 72 hours to always be in that anabolic state. So here are some guidelines depending on how many times a week you're going to be training. So if you're training 3 times a week or a muscle 3 times a week, you want to hit 2 or 3 sets per muscle per session. If you want to prioritize more muscle, hit 3 sets. And if you want to prioritize less muscle but you still want to grow it, do 2 sets. If you want to do 2 times a week, 2 times frequency a week, then you'll do 5 sets for muscles that you really want to prioritize, and then 3 to 4 for muscles that you don't really want to prioritize. You can leave them a bit on the back end. And then this, for me, it's trash. I would like never do this. But if you have to do it for whatever reason, then I'll do 5 to 8 sets per muscle per session. And the reason why we are not putting so much volume is because you have to recover. You can't just do like 10 sets, having so much volume, and then going with the frequency, right? At some point, your body has to recover. So, by keeping the volume a bit low, but like having that frequency, hammering with the frequency, then you're always, in that anabolic state, but you're also recovering to be able to generate stimulus. So, here are some of the splits that I would recommend depending on how many times a week you're going to train. So, the first split that I have in the 3 day split is the full body. Now, the full body is a great split because you're training every muscle 3 times a week. You're having that frequency. But what I will say is that you will be able to grow like an insane amount of muscle in the 3 areas that you're trying to prioritize, like the 3, 4 first muscles that you're trying to prioritize. But then the rest of the muscles, the rest of the exercises are going to be negatively affected. So for me, when I ran the full body 3 times a week, my arms, my shoulders, my chest, they exploded because those were the first muscles that I was putting at every session. But the back, the legs that were at the end, they suffered. They didn't grow as much because you're fatigued at the end of your workout. As I mentioned, your stimulus gets from less and less and less stimulating. So my legs lacked, my back lacked. So that's why I switched to a 4 day split where you have more even distribution. Then you have the upper rest, lower rest, upper. So again, I think this one is it's not better than the full body, but since we're still, trying to prioritize that upper body, this is a good one because you're not putting as much volume and your training won't be as long as the full body splits. Now, here are for me, the sweet spots, right? The upper lower split is really going to be for those who want to have a more balanced physique. So if, it hasn't been a long time that you've been training, I think the upper lower is a great split because you'll be able to prioritize your legs and your upper body. Now, for me, since my legs are already well developed and I don't really care to make them bigger, I am running the push, pull, and abs split. This is the best split I've ever ran. So I'm basically doing push and then quads, and then I'm doing pull with hamstrings. And what this allows me to do is always prioritize my upper body. So, the first three muscles that I'm prioritizing is always going to be upper body. So, my arms, my shoulders, my chest, my back, everything is growing because I'm always hitting them fresh, hitting them fresh, hitting them fresh. And my legs, I don't really care because they're already big. Well, I just I put them at the end. So I'm getting so much stimulus for my upper body, and my legs are like just slowly falling behind. But this has really allowed me to put on a lot of size on my upper body. And the abs, again, I just do like 2 sets. I don't really care. I do 2 sets on the end of my pull session. Then you have the trunk and limbs. This one, when I ran it, I found that my arms were limited because you would do like chest and then back, and then the next day you would do arms and legs, for example. But since you're hitting, tricep when you're doing chest movements, when you're hitting biceps when you're doing back movements, then that fatigue transfers to the next day. So that's my little ick that I had with this split, but it's still a great split regardless. And I know a lot of people that don't really care about the arms, and they just care about having the chest and shoulders and back. And this one is a great split if that's what you're looking for. And lastly, the 5 day split. This one, the only thing I would do is take the 4 day split and take the muscles that you want to prioritize the most and just do a fifth day. So, for example, for me, I'm doing push pull rest, push pull push, but in the push I'm just doing lateral raises. I'm only doing push downs, and I'm only doing chest flies, but just 2 sets, just to have a bit more stimulus, but still allow myself to recover. Because if you're always hammering your muscles, you're not going to be able to recover. And growth happens in recovering and pushing. But if you're not recovering each set or each workout, that you're not going to be able to keep on progressing every week. So this was basically some of the guidelines, what principles you have to understand, and some of the splits I ran. Again, push pull is my one I love, and I hope you guys saw a lot of new things here. You understood the concepts. If there's any question at all, you can DM me on Instagram, which is going to be in the link in my bio, in the link in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.